Do you remember those school days where your teacher would give you an open book test to pass the time? Those were some of my fondest memories from school. And there are 3 reasons why. Number 1, you knew it was gonna be a chill day where you got to kick up your feet. Number 2, it's an open book test. You're literally allowed to look up the answers. My teachers would even allow students to exchange answers, so we'd all assign certain questions to certain people and then we would just trade answers. And then number 3, it was always that one person who still failed the open book test despite practically being spoon-fed a W. That person would be clowned for the rest of the year. And ladies and gentlemen, reason number 3 is the best way to define today's topic of discussion. We're talking about the Callisto Protocol. The Callisto Protocol is the new action horror game from Striking Distance Studio, a new studio being helmed by one of the creators of Dead Space. It was seen that the co-creator of Dead Space decided to lace up his sneakers and come out of retirement. And you would think he'd come back like the 4-5 Jordan, but really he came back as the Wizards Jordan. When Jordan returned to the NBA with the Wizards, the game had evolved. Wizards Jordan had a few great games that included a 51-piece and a couple 40 pieces, but the problem is he was no longer capable of doing that consistently as Father Time catches up with everyone. Jordan was battling knee problems with his tenure with the Wiz. What I'm basically trying to say is that the Callisto Protocol is Jordan on the Wizards, and that's being generous. What's being marketed as Dead Space's spiritual successor is really just something that's a shell of its former self. I know Jordan's knee problems aren't funny, but it is a tad bit funny that your main protagonist moves like he has knee problems. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect this comparison to mesh so well, but the jokes are writing themselves and I'm not gonna complain. The main gameplay loop consists of you walking down tight corridors defending yourself from the monsters attacking. Typical horror stuff, nothing wrong with that. The problem is these scary moments are far too predictable, so they end up not being scary at all. There's also a lack of enemy variety. You fight the same monsters at the beginning of the game as you do at the end, with the exception being a boss fight that also repeats 3 times before you get to the final boss fight.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
It sucks too because this game does have some positives going for it. Visually, Callisto Protocol is great looking. I played the game on the Xbox Series X, and not only did it look amazing, but it ran buttery smooth. The highlight for me is the lighting. The way the light reflects on the environment does a great job of setting a tone that everything is not okay. Basically, the setup is great, but the developers missed on the execution when it comes to scaring the player. It feels like someone threw an alley-oop to the Wizards Jordan that was meant for the Bulls Jordan, you know, the one that can actually catch and dunk. You have a few tools at your disposal when it comes to the combat. If you want to throw hands, that's an option. Actually, it's mandatory, seeing as that's mostly what you'll be doing because ammo is scarce at times in this game. Hand-to-hand combat uses this bob and weave mechanic where you have to flick your analog stick in the correct direction to duck incoming attacks. I found this mechanic to be creative and I actually enjoyed it. What would have taken it over the top is if his feet movement matched his head movement. That would have had us all out here looking like Sugar Ray Leonard instead of somebody's grandpa. There are several weapons in your arsenal, including a pistol, shotgun, and an assault rifle. Most of the game you'll be using the pistol, seeing as the other weapons don't really appear until mid to late game. Gunplay was cool, nothing blew me away. I think the best way to define it is it's serviceable. The game does have one unique mechanic where if you throw hands in the proper rhythm, you'll be rewarded with a blue dot on the enemy. If you quickly pull the trigger before the dot disappears, you'll be given bonus damage on your shot. I like this mechanic. I just wish that the camera didn't spaz half the time you tried to use it because that kind of defeats the purpose.
Okay, that's a valid point.
You also have the power of telekinesis at your disposal. You could pick up enemies and toss them off ledges or into one of the many environmental hazards sprinkled around the levels. I enjoyed the gruesome kills you can achieve with this mechanic. I just didn't like the fact that the camera was incredibly slow when aiming an enemy for a toss. I caught myself wasting my telekinesis ability far more than what I would have liked. The story seems to be a hit or miss with the community. I'm personally indifferent. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. There's some conspiracy stuff going on here, but it got real kookily and campy at the end, further breaking that scary immersion that they were trying to achieve. The good news is that this is only an 8-hour game. The bad news is that it felt a lot longer because it's so clunky, and there's a lot of long, drawn-out death animations that are frequently repeated. This game's got some cool death animations, and they're cool to see the first time, but after you've been clapped by the same enemy type over and over, the allure begins to wear off. In my opinion, the Callisto Protocol should have been a day one Game Pass release instead of being the $60 full retail game. And because it is a $60 game, I'm forced to judge it for what it is. And truth be told, this ain't even a wait till the price drops type of game. This is like a level below that. I'm not saying fuck the Callisto Protocol. What I'm saying is I would only only recommend this game if you can get it out of the bargain bin for like $5 to $10. I just don't understand how you create a game that's based off the one that made you famous, but it's somehow worse. The Callisto Protocol is a AAA version of Mighty No. 9, and that's why this game got uninstalled. If you want to see my rage and me uninstalling this game, a link will be in the description box below to that video. Now hit the like button, drop a comment, and if anyone wants to help keep the village lights on, please consider hitting the join button below the video player. There are all types of cool perks available for those who choose to financially support the channel. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. My name's the Black Hokage, aka TBH, and to be honest, I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.